And very quickly, that 50 million dirhams that we started with became 300 million dirhams. It became 2 billion dirhams, then 10, then 50, then 100, and then 200. And you realize after that, from a, let's say, a CFO perspective, that your traditional approach of having a plan with boundaries and constraints, if you want, does not really work in an environment like Mubadala.
Welcome to The Exchange. I'm your host, Mustafa Al-Rawi. I'm very happy to say that today with us is Mubadala's Chief Financial Officer, Carlos Obeid. Carlos, welcome.
Mustafa, great to be with you.
Carlos, you've been with Mubadala since the beginning of its inception and the way it's grown over the last 25 years or so. I'm very interested to hear from your perspective as the Chief Financial Officer. What has that journey been like for you?
I mean, you're correct. I was with Mubadala from day one. And it was a great privilege to have been selected by our group CEO and the board to, be the chief financial officer at the time, but also be in charge of the other functions. You know, one thing to note at the beginning of Mubadala were just about 50 people. We had one project, which was a dolphin project that was meant to bring gas from the North Field in Qatar to the UAE via subsea pipeline. So the task was really to build this company starting from nothing. And it was very intense at the beginning because we had to do everything. Eventually, we were thinking that maybe this company is going to be, $5 to $10 billion and maybe 200 employees. So we're building essentially for that. Now, we all know where we are today. That's not exactly how things have panned out. But I think from the beginning, you could see that there was this long-term vision that was there and the aim to become best in class. So I think that gives an idea of how Mubadala started, but also how it started with that activity. Now, when we started, we had 50 million dirhams, and we had, as I said, one project. But very quickly, we had these initiatives that we were working on in infrastructure, in healthcare, in real estate, in technology, and aerospace. So all of these were meant to be the champions in the UAE. So we had to create these companies, and we were essentially managing for this to deliver on these projects, to make them happen, and for these companies to be successful. So we had to look for the talent that was able to deliver on these projects, and we needed to make sure that these were delivered on time and on budget, and to make sure that the expectations that were set were realized. And very quickly, that 50 million dirhams that we started with became 300 million dirhams. It became 2 billion dirhams, then 10, then 50, then 100, and then 200. And you realize after that, from a, let's say, a CFO perspective, that your traditional approach of having a plan with boundaries and, constraints, if you want, does not really work in an environment like Mubadala. So every plan that you put is meant to be overachieved, and every ambition that you have in a plan is meant to be outbound. So as a CFO, you have to learn to be a lot more flexible than you, but you need to retain the discipline around delivering that ambition and that result that you're expecting. This role is going to be a lot more complex. So the team that I had at the time will need to also embrace that change and that activity, and will need to make sure that whatever expectation is being set for the future is going to be met. We have now a lot more private equity in what we do, and therefore that change is going to be significant from overseeing just a few companies to one that actually has a bigger portfolio, more international, more diversified, and therefore a lot more demanding from a financial perspective. So the 200 billion became close to 500 billion, and a year later, in 2018, ADIC was added to the group, which made it even more complex, because now all of a sudden you have multiple asset classes, you have different sectors, different geographies, different activities, a lot more complexities in managing the overall financial situations and performance reporting. So a lot more demand on the team from the stakeholders, but also from internally the asset managers and the investment managers. So we need to make sure that we have the ability to deliver on that and to accompany that growth in a fairly sustained manner. So building on the team that we had and building on the capabilities, the motto was, we deal with partners that are best in class, and we need to be best in class in everything that we do from day one. So that was how we made sure that we are today, $380 billion, 1.4 trillion dirhams of asset under management.
Yeah, I mean, you touch upon the bigger picture there, which is that, the UAE and Abu Dhabi has been on this diversification journey for the last few decades in particular, and is looking to future-proof that economy so that future generations continue to enjoy the prosperity that has existed since, at least the UAE was formed in the early 1970s. But if I listen to the journey that you've been describing there as the CFO of an ever-evolving institution, most CFOs would come in and understand that business. Maybe they've worked in that industry before.
I don't envy the analysts who will have to look at the Mubadala financials over time and try to make sense out of it, for the reasons that I was just alluding to, in the sense that, when we started, we were a development company. And for us at the time, and for the performance metrics were around how do you spend your capital efficiently? Are you on budget, on time? Do you have the management team that is capable of delivering these projects on target and in time to the specifications that you want? And therefore, it's very different from, let's say, the second stage, which is when we're more of a operating company, where you're concerned about revenues, you're concerned about profitability, you're concerned about your costs, you're concerned about market growth, market access, the partners that you bring on board, and of course, how to attract talent, a management talent that can deliver on the management of these projects. Some of these are really large, and I've mentioned Dolphin, which is quite a significant project, Cleveland Clinic, Abu Dhabi, Masdar, the Imperial College Diabetes Center, Yasat, the satellite company, Global Foundries, Al-Dar on the real estate side. All of these were initiatives that we started that are now global champions or UAE champions for that matter. Then when we became an investment company, not the mandate, but the performance changes as well, or the performance metrics change as well, because now all of a sudden you're more of a private equity. So you look at it from a 5-year horizon, you look at the returns, you say, well, okay, how do I recycle my capital? So I need to watch my realization. I need to make sure that my investments match with my realization. I need to make sure that I'm compared to a particular reference performance metrics, and how am I doing against that? And then today, as a global organization that has multiple asset classes, that now manages also third-party capital, again, you have a totally different set of metrics, because you not only are you looking at the 5-year return, you're looking at the long-term return, a 10-year return. You're looking at your investors. How are they, the ones that are investing with you, how are they performing? Some of these are pension funds, some of these are family offices They are entrusted with capital that they have to deploy within specific risk return parameters, and you need to make sure that you are delivering to them what they expect within the framework that they have, and they trust you with their capital, and you need essentially to deliver for that. So your metrics also need to take into consideration that particular aspect as well.
You mentioned that the 2025 figures, the annual results are out. Can you tell us a little bit more about what's special about the 2025 results?
Well, 2025 has been a record year across a number of metrics. So we had record returns. As I mentioned, our 5-year and 10-year returns are above our reference benchmark return by a significant percentage. So on the 5-year, we're 3.4% above the benchmark, and on the 10-year, we're close to 2% above the benchmark. So by all means, these are extremely good numbers. But also more importantly, I think we've had record deployments, so new investments, and we have record realizations, almost in the range of 140 billion each. And just to put these things in perspective, if you take that amount and you say every business day in the year, that meant that we had 600 million dirhams coming into Mubadala and 600 million dirhams going out as investments by Mubadala every single business day. So that's not a small amount. We also grew our AUMs now to almost 1.4 trillion dirhams. We have also a new category of assets under advisory as a result of the Mubadala Capital acquisition of CI Financial, which is one of the largest registered independent advisors in the world. We have now close to 2 trillion dirhams of assets under advisory. That's a new category for us. And again, it demonstrates how Mubadala is evolving year on year.
I mean, listening to the metrics from 2025, it's clear it was a very strong year in terms of performance for Mubadala, but equally globally, 2025 sort of was in keeping with more recent years in terms of, predictability being much harder to come by, uncertainty being a factor, and so when it comes to sort of a deteriorating picture globally, and we can look back to some of the crises over the last 10 years, whether it be COVID or oil price crashes, more than 10 years ago now, that have all been sort of cycles that Mubadala have been through. But when we look at 2025, what tested Mubadala's financial architecture the most when it came to that sort of unpredictability?
I think, over time, we have been through the crisis that you have described. And as a management team, I think as a senior management team, as a leadership team of Mubadala, we've had that experience built with us. So over time, we have built the portfolio in a way that is able to sustain these shocks and is able to react fairly quickly and rapidly to events of this nature. So obviously 2025 was a little bit volatile with the tariff situation that was introduced, with the central banks uncertainty around their monetary policies, etc. So there have been quite a lot of volatility in that trend. But from a Mubadala perspective, we are geared to address these challenges. We rely on each other in terms of how the reaction needs to be. We have the ability to access liquidity that we have built over time. Our balance sheet is fairly strong when it comes to its construct and its leverage. So we have access to a lot of financial facilities or liquidity facilities that allow us to deploy capital at a time where others may not be able to do so. And beyond that, I think, and what's the most important thing, I think, in each of the assets that we have a management team that has that resilience in their mindset. So we make sure that every entity is built with the same mindset, that they have at some point in time to face a market situation, and it may come for them at different times that it may come for everyone. And having that diversified portfolio allow you to more or less navigate these circumstances and give you the opportunity to invest in situations where you see there is upside from where it has reached. So making sure that you have the team, making sure that you have the plans to address each one of those situations carefully and calmly, making sure that you have the robustness in every activity that you carry out is the key to making sure that you exit from that crisis stronger than when you faced it. And that's really what makes the difference between good companies and great companies.
And we're in another period of uncertainty in the region at the moment. And from what you're describing, if you have the building blocks in place for an institution like Mubadala, and you have the talent and you have the vision and the leadership, then you're in a position to weather and evolve and adapt to any of these crises that may come up. But from your perspective as a CFO, what are the biggest factors that you have to contend with when it comes to these periods of uncertainty?
I mean, it's a multitude of things, as I was saying. It's the ability to have access to liquidity. It's the ability to have a team of professionals that is dedicated and committed to realizing the mission and the objective. Is to have different scenarios that you have pre-programmed, if you want, and plans associated with these scenarios that allow you to, when something happens, to react in a way that is predictable and that measures. It does not mean that everything goes to the letter in these plans, but at least you have the guidelines that allow you to react and respond in the best possible manner. So all of that, and you have a team that is committed. I think I mentioned that, but I
can't say it enough.
I can't say it enough. Exactly, and that's one of the key. So, and in that team, you need to have the trust. So, going back to the steering of the company overall. I mean, just to illustrate the fact, last year or 2025, we have raised about 33 billion dirhams in various liquidity facilities and term loans and debt. Bonds, sukuk, various financial instruments that we have. We have currently more than 40 banks with whom we deal with. These are relationship banks. We have more than 90 investors in our third-party capital funds that have committed more than $20 billion with Mubadala for our various funds in the UAE, in the US, in Brazil, and other places. So really that network and that has come as a result of building that trust with them over a long period of time. And that's why when something happens, we are their relationship or counterparty of choice. And you don't get there through transactional activity only. It's because you build the trust at the individual level, but also over a long period of time, institution to institution.
And sort of, from that perspective, being in the UAE, being in Abu Dhabi helps Mubadala because of the wider network and relationships and trust that the Abu Dhabi and the UAE has also built up over decades. And that kind of mirrors what you're talking about. But if you also think about being based here in Abu Dhabi and the UAE during times of uncertainty, during periods of crisis, global, regional, otherwise, there is always that feeling of trust that will emerge stronger.
Yeah. And we have seen that. I mean, Mustafa, you're 100% right. We have seen that across multiple crises where the leadership from the top conveys that message of, don't worry, things are under control. We're prepared for all of this. Your well-being is being taken care of. Focus on delivering what you are meant to deliver. Don't worry about other things. And this is the same principle that we have at Mubadala. We have plans for all contingencies, and we want our assets also to have the same plans for contingencies so that employees or partners or clients or investors feel confident that we are able to manage these situations, and their interests will be taken care of.
It goes back to that first story you told me about how Khaldoun al-Mubarak was insistent that things are done well with the right level of quality and the right investment, no shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
And building that from the very beginning, that now, fast forward to 2 decades on, then when you're big and you're global, you're still operating under the same philosophy.
That's exactly true.
And I think I'm going to sort of change the pace a bit to looking down the line. 10 years from now, you're looking back as the CFO of Mubadala 10 years from today, and what is it that you hope will still be there in 10 years time from what you're seeing now?
I think it's a big we're going through a big transformation, I would say, globally. And Khaldoun was mentioning earlier that in the past we used to project 5 to 10 years. Now it's very difficult to see for the next 3 years where things are going to be, because technology is transforming everything, AI is transforming everything. But I think one thing that will not change is that constant thinking about, how do we make sure that everything that we do has the resilience and has the ability to grow in the future. We'll continue to rely on the best quality people that we have, and we need to make sure that we continue to outperform the market. Again, we have great investments, we have great investment teams, and we need to make sure that we maintain that attractiveness for them, that they see a future for themselves in Mubadala, that Mubadala has the ability to accompany this growth, because the ambition is here and it's not going to be restricted.
You mentioned, a period of transformation, and you mentioned AI, and so I'm curious to hear from your perspective, how do you think AI should be used in terms of, the finance function of an institution like Mubadala? At what point do you just give it over to AI? And at what level do the humans need to be in charge?
I mean, it's a great question, and I think it's something that we grapple with today, because it's undeniable that AI has the ability to process information and a lot faster and a lot quicker than what we currently have. So its ability to ingest data and process them and give you insights in a summarized way are unparalleled. So you can't have an analyst, a human analyst who can do that in that way. So definitely there are some activities that AI will augment that. Everything at the end of the day needs to be reviewed by a human to test for. I'm not going to say for reasonableness or for more for logic to a certain extent, and to teach it, because at the end of the day, models work by looking at the past, and sometimes the main element of success in investment is not just the numbers. It's the intuition of the investor. It's a human touch that comes behind it, and that you can't replace. So AI will not be able to do that. So I think we as finance professionals need to also evolve into the junction between an analysis that is coming from a very clever and very capable AI tool, but mixing it with intuition, with know-how, with experience, with foresight that cannot all, and with creativity as well. I mean, I'll just give a small example. You can have a company that has excellent financial metrics, but it fails. Why does it fail? Because maybe the CEO was not capable, or got distracted, or something like that. And these are things that AI cannot tell you about. You'll need to meet with the individuals. You need to meet with the people. You need to review these things and test for yourself whether these will deliver these the plans that you have for them. They were built on what I was mentioning, the talent and the cohesion and the trust that is not yet replicable by machines. But definitely from a processing capabilities, AI is going to be a big help in doing a lot of the things that today take us a lot of time. We'll be able to do that much faster. We'll be able to respond a lot faster to we'll be able to scale faster. And we're already doing that internally, adopting all of these tools to allow us to respond very quickly to our investment teams, to giving them the information that they need, the analytics that they need, and to be able to execute on a number of transactions in a very seamless and quick manner. You'll still need individual, you still need that relationship that you were talking about, that partnership. And when you look at Mubadala, that's one of the key elements that made it as successful as it is today and as renowned as it is today.
Carlos Obeid, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
My pleasure too.
And thank you so much for being with us in the exchange.